time for another pen review. And today we're going to have a look at a Lamy pen. This was sent to me by Appelboom Pen, thanks a lot. Because this is a hip new pen from Lamy. This is the Lamy Aion, I'm just going to say. Aion, Hellenistic deity that sort of symbolizes time, hence time for a review. I'll stop the bad puns now. Interesting new pen, Lamy, very minimalist. I wouldn't call this extremely cheap, but it is a... I shouldn't say that because then people associate that with negative stuff. It's not very inexpensive, but it is not super expensive either. So it's sort of an affordable model. Interesting, it's new. So I'm going to cover the parts of the pen and tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then I'll do a writing sample. I got two from Joost from Appelboom, and those are the two that are available. There is a black and there is an aluminum, I would say aluminum, well, let's call this a silver colored version. It is aluminum, you can also call it aluminium if you like. And today, because I'm wearing something black and this is a very dark background and that you may not see the pen very well like this, I'm going to use the silver one to show you all the parts, but the pens are identical. You should not uncap two pens at the same time apparently. You see that they're pretty much the same. So I'm going to use that silver colored one. Let's look at the parts of the pen. The box, as I said, I mean, I got it in this box. I assume that's what they ship in, except I got two and typically you buy one, right? The pen, top of the pen, nothing. Cap. Clip, sort of shiny. These clips are spring-loaded, which is very nice. So, fairly easy to put into pockets, etc. Beyond that, nothing really going on with the cap. Barrel, end cap, all same material, same look. That's it. So it's clear Lamy is trying to do, I think, something a bit minimalist here, which at the moment is very popular. We see a lot of minimalist pens, so I think they try to kind of jump on that bandwagon. Pens uncap, and they are pretty tight. It's a slip cap, but you really have to pull on that to open it. Section tapers down, very long section as you can see, and then a nib. Is this a Safari nib? No, it is not a Safari nib. It is a newly designed nib, and they went for something a bit more rounded off. However, you can slip off this nib just as you can with a Safari or an All-Star. And you can put on the Safari nibs. So if you have a couple lying around, or for example if you have a Lamy Studio which has a gold nib, same nib type but gold nib, you can take this off and you can put that on. So in a way you can expand your nib range all the way from extra fine through broad, which by the way is also the range these nibs come in. So this pen you can buy it extra fine through broad to begin with, and then you can expand it with the fairly inexpensive Safari nibs. Steel nib, and that feed looks a lot like the Safari feed, and then the pens are cartridge-converter filled. Don't come with a converter, so it's either cartridge or converter depending on what you want. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with that, the Lamy cartridge converters, both cartridges and the converters are proprietary, so you cannot just take your standard international short cartridges and pop them in. This happens to be a Lamy cartridge, but you can use the converters too. You have to be careful. I don't know from the top of my head which of the converter types it is, because some of them have little nubs on the side, and I seem to recall they didn't fit in. But of course, if you buy it, your shop will know. Okay, what do I like about the pen? What do I not like about the pen? Well, it's a solid pen. It's all metal. It feels solid. It's not super heavy. Aluminum is a fairly light material, so it doesn't feel tremendously heavy, but it's a larger pen. When you post it, it's definitely big, and even unposted, it's a pretty substantial pen. It's definitely minimalist. There's not a lot going on. There is the only spot that has the brand name is actually the side of the clip right there. Beyond that, there's nothing. No markings, nothing. Except on the nib, of course, where it says Lamy and an indication, in this case B for broad. But beyond that, nothing. So it's very minimalist, and that makes it, I think, popular. A lot of people seem to really like this very simple style, and nothing wrong with that. It's also a bit of an EDC, like everyday carry type pen. I can see how people would just put this in their pocket. It scuffs up a bit, gets a bit dented, etc. But some people like that. It has appeal. You know, it develops character, and I see you can do that with both. So again, there's also a black version. You can mix and match if you have to. You can put the black cap on the silver model if you want to, because they do all fit, and that's all great. It's not extremely cheap, as I said. It's not extremely expensive either. These go for 52 euros, which at Appelboom, for example, which is not terrible, but it's not very cheap either. Given, I think, what you get a simple cylindrical metal pen, as I believe it, no cartridge-converter included, steel nib, that kind of puts it up with, say, a Lamy Studio in a steel nib, which is, I think, a slightly more refined looking pen. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this design. That's just a slightly more sculpted pen. This is a bit blockier, but I think that was also what they were going for. Okay, wrote well, smoothly, no issues really. A solid barrel, so it fits snugly in your hand, which I enjoyed. Other things I don't like so much. There are a few things, and there's two things I would like to mention. One is that clearly that's the truth. That's not my interpretation. I mean, they had someone redesign this nib. Interesting, more curved. That's definitely interesting. But you can fit on a safari nib, but of course it's not going to look exactly the same as this. So I wonder, was it really necessary to redesign that nib? If people already have it, they can put it on, etc. But I'm not sure. I mean, it's still, especially from the side, it looks very similar to the old style nibs. I don't know if this was really necessary, but of course one always tries to innovate, so I understand the decision. My bigger problem with the pen is the section. The section, it tapers down, but it's very featureless. It has a bit of a texture, just like the entire pen has. It's sort of like that brushed chrome feel, if you know, if you ever held a pen like that or an object like that. But it's very featureless. There is no sort of hourglass shape that your fingers slip into. And that made the pen a bit confusing to me, because in my hand it starts to rotate, and then the nib doesn't align properly with the paper, and then it starts to skip. That can be a little bit of an issue. So it's a very bulky section. It's really quite girthy, especially a bit higher up. So if I hold it really down there, my fingers all touch, which is fine. Up there they stop doing that, and typically that, when my fingers don't really touch, things can get a little bit more uncomfortable for me personally. But that rotation, that's a bit of an issue for me. I just don't. It just slips a bit as I write with it for a longer period of time, and I found myself having to realign it as you write. May not be a problem for everyone, but it was for me. Having said that, what you buy is an affordable pen, 52 euros. Not terrible. Don't forget the discount code you can use for the Appelboom website. It's on my website, and that way you get 10% off. That may make it a bit more interesting, and for people overseas, they wouldn't have to pay the VAT of 21%. So then this becomes a pretty affordable pen, I would say. Joost, thanks a lot for sending me this pen. I appreciate it, or these pens, I should say. We need to see how they write. Measurements of the pen, as well as high-resolution pictures, will be on the website, sbrebrown.com, and I will see how it writes. That's all there's to it. I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye-bye. Okay, so here we go with the Lamy Aion. This is a broad steel nib, and the ink is just Lamy blue from a cartridge. Would it be different from a bottle? Not really. I just wanted to say from a cartridge. Sometimes it's fun to create confusion. Nib writes. There is some feedback as you write, but it's not scratchy. In fact, I find it pretty pleasant. some fast writing. Was one skip there, but I think in all this is maybe here it performs pretty well. As to wetness, it has a nice flow. Lamy blue I think has been described as a little dry, but it's not a super wet writer. Line variation, you can see there was some railroading there, but you can squeeze some out if you want to. It does take a bit of pressure, but you can if you really want to. And as I said, this is a broad nib, and if you want to do reverse writing, it does work. It is scratchier, but you can do that and take that broad to, I would say, a good fine, which is something that some people really enjoy and could be useful. And that's all there's to it. So, Joost, thanks a lot for lending me these pens. I appreciate it. I'm only going to write with the black one here because the writing performance of the silver one was exactly the same. So it seems pointless to do two writing samples with two broad nibs of basically the same pen. I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.
Bye.